Right now, flags have been lowered to half staff on the north and south lawn of the White House. This video is coming from our very own Kara Castronova, live there in D.C. Now, this is in response to the breaking news that we've been covering all day, news out of Minneapolis. The Minnesota governor, Tim Walz, says a shooting took place at Annunciation Catholic School today during the first week of classes. Two children, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, were killed when a gunman fired shots through the windows of that Catholic school during a morning mass. 17 others injured, including 14 kids. The suspect, who shot from outside, took his own life, and there's no active threat now as the authorities like the FBI and the ATF have been swarming the scene. This heartbreaking story is developing, according to ABC News. You know, this has been part of a tragic wave of violence in Minneapolis, with 3 other deadly shootings in just 12 hours, leaving 3 people dead and 8 injured total. The first hit around 2 p.m. on Tuesday in South Minneapolis, killing 1 and wounding 6. The second struck at 8 p.m. near East 27th Street and 3rd Avenue South, claiming 1 man's life and injuring another. And the third erupting at 2 a.m. Wednesday, today, here on 800 block of Hennepin Avenue, where a gunman fired on a group, killing 1 man and hurting a second victim who's recovering. No arrests there, no clear connections between those incidents, but Police Chief Brian O'Hara calls it deeply unsettling and is urging community tips to Crime Stoppers, according to KARE 11. But is Minneapolis just the latest blue city to need some assistance, perhaps some assistance from the National Guard? President Trump is now threatening to send the military into Baltimore to quickly clean up crime, just like in D.C., while also eyeing deployments to Chicago and New York. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is pushing back hard, calling it an authoritarian power grab and insisting there's no emergency to federalize the Guard or bring in troops from other states. Maybe if he would do his job and clean up the crime, he wouldn't need to blast our president for seeing a need to intervene. And so we'll have more on that coming up, what's going on with this developing story, with this tragedy of children killed at the hands of another psycho, quite frankly. More cleaning up in D.C., including righting the wrongs of the former administration and reinstating those FBI whistleblowers. We're going to have OG whistleblower Richard Grove joining me with his reaction to that and just how deep the deep state goes. But first, it's been a bit quiet in D.C. after the crime crackdown, perhaps a little too quiet on the Trump election security executive order he indicated he was going to sign before. Our Kara Castronova has been digging into that. She's going to be bringing us those details. But first, Kara, continuing to learn more about this shooter in Minneapolis, what have we learned about who this person is?
A lot, Kristi. Actually, his name is Westman is his last name. But if you guys could pull up that that post by Nick Sorter, who's saying he was another trans shooter. I don't know if this has officially been confirmed, but Nick Sorter is saying that the Minnesota Catholic school shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, yet another trans shooter killing children at a Catholic school. This is, again, a post by Nick Sorter. When are we going to finally admit trans violence is a massive problem? So that came out a little while ago on X, and then there was President Trump did issue a statement on Truth Social following the shooting, and he is flying the flags on the south and north lawn at half mast. And there's right there on the screen is a picture of the manifesto. It's really crazy. Like, you guys got to just check this out on X. Just look up Shooter Manifesto. The guy was really not well in the head. That's basically a letter to his parents. I got a chance to skim through it. A letter to the shooter's parents saying that they were good parents and other things before he shot all of these people. Sadly, there was an article in the New York Post as well, Kristi, and I do want to refer to my notes from that article talking about how this shooter was a Trump hater. And for the most part, there were some videos on YouTube that emerged, and they're still trying to obviously solidify if these were indeed this shooter. But the shooter shows kill Donald Trump, and for the children, I guess, videos scrawled on gun magazines, actually writing scrawled on gun magazines. So this was a person who apparently was not a fan of President Trump and wanted to, quote unquote, kill Donald Trump, according to the New York Post. So more information is emerging. It's very unfortunate, very sad, obviously targeting a Catholic mass, these poor children that were just in a back to school mass sitting there listening to a priest, and then all of a sudden rounds fired. The door, from what I understand, was barricaded, so he did take the time to barricade some of the doors so people couldn't escape. So this was very premeditated, and more information is emerging. The president also spoke to Governor Tim Walz as well. There was an email released from the White House that they spoke on the phone, and they've both been updated on this shooting, and the FBI is investigating. Kristi.
It's just so enraging. It's the most cowardly thing that you could do. I mean, and what vain and narcissistic thing to prove whatever weird agenda you have to target children, to target defenseless children, making it so they can't escape. It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting thinking about the parents that's just, we're in our first week of school and they're sending them off. This is the last thing that you expect to happen at the hands of a crazed psycho. And we already know the narrative that we're going to have to endure in the weeks ahead, that it's time to crack down on gun violence, instead of the very clear, in your face narrative that should be out there. Enough already. Enough with the. I'm sure this was another person that was probably on our SSRIs or some other kind of drugs. Instead of the clear indication that this is a pattern now, a pattern of people that, if it's true that that the allegations are that he is a trans individual, which it seems there's documentation coming forward, but again, that's alleged at this point. But if that is the case, then we have a pattern here. How about we look at the pattern instead of going back to, oh, we need to take the guns? No, psychos like this will use whatever else if they can't get their hands on that. And we need, if only somebody in that mass had the ability to defend themselves by carrying. So it's like you already know the script, and it's just so angering. I just really feel for those families, and I just want to take that manifesto and burn it, because no, we don't care about your long worded whatever here. Lives are lost and families will never be the same because of your selfish narcissism.
Right. It's incredible. And as you mentioned, yes, Democrats will probably use this to, fight for more gun laws, I guess. The governor of Minnesota, as you know, I'm sorry, the governor of that state, as you know, Tim Walz, is very much for the Second Amendment, but his actions and the legislation that he signed say otherwise. So hopefully they don't use this to politicize things. This is just a tragedy. I think everybody could see that, and I'm hoping that it's not going to be a catalyst for enacting more gun laws when, as you mentioned, the problem is mental health. The problem is, if this person is indeed trans, more than likely a mental health issue, unfortunately. I saw a picture of his parents. His parents seemingly look a little bit, I hate to say that a person doesn't look well, but I think that picture really kind of points to the mental state. And I know that sounds horrible, but it seems like his parents are not on the same page as him. And I don't know. It's a mental health issue, obviously. And these pharmaceutical drugs are known to have detrimental effects to the psyche. And as you mentioned, it has been a pattern that the majority of these young men that, with these school shootings are all taking these drugs. The majority of them are. So that's facts. And hopefully those facts don't get lost in this narrative as it continues to unfold. Kristi.
It's an epidemic because we've allowed and fed into these mental health problems. We fed into them as they're real, and then fed them all these largely untested drugs. Again, we don't know if this person was, but there's been a pattern there. So we'll see as more comes out. That's unfortunately something that you don't usually end up seeing, is because there's rules against finding out what these people were on. But yes, it's all very angering and very sad. And so more needs to be done about this, but we'll continue to follow that news as more information comes, because this is very developing. I believe there's even still law enforcement at that scene, but yes, our President Trump there in DC, as you said, you've got video of those flags at half-mast, and we're all going to be grieving this for the next several days.
Yes, for sure. half mass. So if a good number of days at half mass for those children, those Catholic children. I'm very curious to see if this was specifically targeted towards Catholics, if it was a Catholic hate crime or a Christian hate crime, or if this person was just a lunatic in general and just wanted to kill children. So again, more details I'm sure will emerge as the day progresses.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, though,
And
you could see in that manifesto, it's me, 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 and it's just disgusting. It's just the most cowardly thing to target children, and far too familiar with what happened with the trainee shooter at a Christian school. Hard to keep track of when that was. What was that, 2 years ago now? Hard to keep track, but this is a pattern that deserves looking into. But to move on from this topic for now until we learn more,
yes.
I know that before this came out and more was coming out here, you were looking into the election security executive order. Like, we were expecting an order to be signed from President Trump to further secure our elections, but that just has not happened yet.
Right. And as you know, if you guys could pull that article up, that was in New York Magazine. And, the president, we were very excited about this. The president last week, Monday, put out a Truth Social post that he would be signing an executive order to obviously do something that we think is very important, which is ban election machines and mail-in ballots. And it's really been sort of silent since then. It's going on a week and a half later, and still that executive order signed, which isn't the most unusual thing that happens. It takes time to craft these executive orders. Obviously, they're law and they have to be crafted very carefully. But there really hasn't been word, and there is a rumor going around that there's a chance that there is going to be a different route that the president will be taking when it comes to banning the mail-in ballots and the election machines. And an article came out on New York Magazine, basically, for the most part, saying that they're going the legislative route now. That's what they're saying, that the White House has backtracked, that they realize that there are a lot of constitutional hurdles that would have to be that the president and his team would have to jump over, and that it would likely be killed in court. So they're reevaluating and wondering if there's a legislative route they could go. And Carolyn Levitt sort of alluded to that in a press briefing last week. I don't think many people were paying attention, but somebody had asked about that executive order. And Carolyn Levitt sort of said that they're hoping to work with the legislators when they come back from recess, from summer recess, on making some laws to fight mail-in ballots. So I did take some notes, and, just what can the president actually do in executive order, because elections are controlled by the states, and that would, like I said, be hard to fight in a court of law. So an executive order could direct the Department of Justice, DHS, and election assistant commissions to study vulnerabilities and issue best practice guidelines. It could tie federal grants to secure practices like paper ballots, election day deadlines, post-election audits, order transparency on voting machine contracts and foreign software parts, set standards for military federal ballots, create a task force on election integrity to push Congress. And he could also do a proclamation, which is less, I guess, binding than an executive order. But the executive order, I think they're taking their time with writing this executive order just because of the legal limitations. But there are things that the president can actually do. Again, like he could direct DHS, the Department of Justice, et cetera, to study vulnerabilities in voting machines, which would be important. Require the Department of Justice to prioritize enforcement of existing federal election laws like ballot harvesting and fraud and civil rights violations. So there are things that he could put in an executive order. And I spoke to a couple legal experts that are thinking that maybe the president's team is just really taking their time with this executive order. I did reach out to the White House for comment, and I'm waiting to hear back from them regarding this. A strategic thing I think that the president should be able to do is work with the swing states maybe before 2026. States like Georgia and North Carolina, obviously swing states are important when it comes to winning elections, especially presidential elections, but even important seats in obviously the Congress. And the governor of both North and Carolina and Georgia are both Republicans, and the legislatures are Republican as well. So there's trifectas in both states, and these swing states could work with the president. I think that would be a good strategy for the president to take, to work with these states to change the election laws there, to get rid of the mail-in ballots, to make them unlawful, to get rid of the election machines. But really, the mail-in ballots, I think, would reasonable before 2026. North Carolina specifically, I think, would be a great state that he could start with, just because Republicans really control the legislature, and even more so Georgia, because Georgia has a trifecta, meaning that Republican leadership can actually feasibly pass and sign new election rules such as mail-in ballot restrictions. So the president did, Kristi, say in his initial Truth Social post that he wants to spearhead this. So that sort of alludes to the fact that he wants to potentially work with governors and work with state legislatures to cooperate when it comes to election integrity and fighting to get rid of mail-in ballots. So he did allude to that, and I think that might be one of the strategies that the administration is looking at going forward, Kristi.
Excellent. You mentioned some of those states have Republican governors. Well, we know with Brian Kemp, that doesn't necessarily make a difference on whether or not they'll be able to work toward election integrity. It seems like some Republicans feel like they benefit from unsecure or insecure elections and don't want to mess with it. So we'll see what happens. But disappointing that he can't do more, because it has such consequential effects on the way that we live. But there's another article of the mainstream media freaking out about someone named Heather Honey. Can you explain why they're so upset that she has a position now?
Sure, Heather Honey, if you guys could pull up that article. And not a lot of people are reporting on this, and I did reach out to somebody at Department of Homeland Security who said she was hired a few weeks ago, and she's obviously great for election integrity. And now she's on a task force at DHS fighting for election integrity. Doesn't like that. They're not reporting on it. And the ones that are freaking out because she pushed to overturn, allegedly, this is the way that is being framed, Trump's quote unquote loss in 2020 election. Now she's going to help oversee U.S. election security, which is obviously great news for anybody that cares about election security and the republic and our democracy, as Democrats like to say. But obviously, this is somebody that people that I guess want to cheat would be against overseeing, obviously, U.S. election security. So, I did reach out to Department of Homeland Security to see if maybe she would be available for an interview. We'll see. But she is obviously a ideal pick, I think, there at DHS, and somebody that will really fight to make elections great again, hopefully.
It's pretty wild to see headlines like that, where it says that this woman has been appointed to oversee election security, and then it says this has got state officials concerned. And it's like, if she's trying to make the elections more secure, why would they be concerned? I mean, it goes back to like even Tina Peters sitting behind bars because she tried to save evidence, and you're acting like that is so horrible, like that it just makes no sense. And I really hope that they can hurry up and get this figured out long before the midterms, because this is long past due. But I mean, this is what these people do. They cheat, they lie, they cheat, they steal. And speaking of that, we're continuing to see rules for thee, but not for me. I'm sure you saw that Just the News is now reporting that classified memos reveal that while the FBI was probing Hillary Clinton's private email server, James Comey's inner circle was using personal emails for unauthorized leaks to the media.
Right.
So more is coming out about that. I mean, I just don't know how much longer we can go talking about all of these verifiable, that there's evidence for things that James Comey did and not see action against him.
Yeah, hopefully there will be action, and all of these things are coming out now. Just the News got this scoop that you mentioned about Comey's FBI literally having its own email account, and this is obviously unauthorized. So obviously, I think a lot more of this information will continue to come out, and hopefully something will be done about it. Obviously, we had good news last week at that raid last week that we were at, but this is months after he refused to charge Hillary Clinton during the 2016 election. This is reading from Just the News. For using a private unauthorized server to transmit classified information, the FBI Director James Comey's inner circle used personal email accounts to further a plan to make unauthorized disclosure to journalists. This is newly declassified memos. I would love to see these memos. I will dig deeper into this story. This is something that obviously is being ignored by the mainstream media, but good thing this was, dropped on Just the News, and we're talking about it today because this stuff is just so important to continue to hold these bad actors accountable, like James Comey and Clapper and everybody else involved with basically just with Russiagate and everything that they did to President Trump and his supporters for the past 8 years, finally being held accountable. I think this stuff is slowly coming out, but it's going to be sort of an avalanche, I think, in the next year of information that comes out, and many indictments. I really do believe that. Looking forward to that, just seeing people held accountable and seeing the information come out. If you committed a crime, obviously you should pay the price. So this person, again, needs to pay the price, along with Hillary Clinton, with those email servers, Kristi.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly brings new light to remember when James Comey said, oh, no reasonable prosecutor would go after her for using a private email server. And it's just like, well, of course, no reasonable prosecutor would, because in your world, because you are guilty of the same thing in your own department. So a private email server. And it's just like, well, because you your own department. This gives new fresh look at some of these things that were said, things that were done. But we're going to be continuing to follow that as well. Kara, I'm going to let you get back to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kristi. Have a great show.
Thanks. Coming up, a former corporate whistleblower is reacting to FBI whistleblowers, the settlements they just received, the reinstatements. It's been a long time coming. Interested to find out what he thinks about that. But we also have Wednesday weekly wins coming up that we may go to next. But quick reminder, join our editorial board. Send us your news tips and your ideas. We want to make sure that we're getting it all, and we need your help with that. Also want to make sure that we're on the topics and talking to the people that you want to hear from, because we're here to elevate voices, not censor them, like we've all experienced, right? You can do that by emailing news@LindellTV.com. That's news@LindellTV.com. So you can join in the fun and make sure that people are being informed. Also, another thing that is on your homework to-do list is you should be joining Vocal. That's VOCL, kind of like X, but better. We have the shows streaming there as soon as they come on. So you can always check there on Vocal Social. We also don't have the shadow banning or weird algorithms that happen sometimes on platforms like X. Even after Elon Musk bought it, there's still been some problems there. So if you want something totally free, totally uncensored, and can connect with us, go and sign up on Vocal Social, and you can find me there at Kristi Leigh TV, Kristi Leigh TV at vocal.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and if our guest has joined us, we'll bring him right in. If not, we're going to take a break from the negative news and celebrate some wins that have happened recently in my Wednesday weekly wins segment. But surprise, you'll find out after this break.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice, speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LindellTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell LindellTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
If you want to drop extra pounds, boost energy levels, and reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then this message is for you. Pure Health Research is on a mission to make America healthy again, and two of their best-selling health supplements are leading the way. First is Liver Health Formula. Over 100 million Americans have a sluggish liver that's riddled with fatty deposits. This can kill your metabolism, pile on the pounds, and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula takes care of that. It supports thriving liver health with special nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. This is one of the easiest ways to slim down and revitalize your energy levels. Next is lymph system support. If you struggle with fluid buildup or swelling in your legs, ankles, and feet, this is for you. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush away extra fluid and toxins out of your body. And right now, for a limited time, you get 35% off Liver Health Formula and Lymph System Support, along with 50 plus other health supplements that Pure Health Research has to offer. So head over to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com, promo code Lindell to save 35% on your order today.
Welcome back to DC Dispatch. Big win for justice as Trump's DOJ reinstates FBI whistleblowers Steve Friend and Garrett O'Boyle, who were suspended for calling out FBI abuses, like pumping up domestic extremism cases tied to January 6th. We've also had Steve Friend on before talking about how he was taken off the assignment of children being trafficked, children, predatory behavior toward children, to focus on January 6th. It was absolutely unbelievable. But here you can see our friend of the show, Tracy Bean. She's celebrating this. Man, we thought we never would see this coming. She's taking a moment to celebrate, quoting Empower Oversight's their press release on settling 8 more retaliation cases, wrapping up all 10 with back pay and lump sums to fix the prior weaponization. These moves are shaking up the idea of FBI impartiality, exposing biased security clearance revokes over politics and sparking calls for oversight and real reforms. Now, it's lucky these guys had Chuck Grassley on their side to really work to try and vindicate them. Nothing can ever make it okay what happened to these guys. They were brave. They spoke up. They knew something was wrong, and they did the thing of integrity in their position and tried to raise the alarm. And it's just absolutely sickening the amount of whistleblowers that have done this, that are supposed to have whistleblower protections. But these guys' lives were completely upended. Steve Friend was on, I would just want to say a few weeks ago, talking about he couldn't even get a security guard job. He could, it was just impossible to find work after this dredging his name through the mud by the legacy media. And Garrett O'Boyle's story is absolutely heartbreaking. Having signed for a new home, moving everything out, putting stuff into storage. And I don't know if he still has stuff that he hasn't gotten back from when they took his stuff. So it's horrible what happened. It's great to see that these men are willing to be reinstated at the FBI and take those positions back. I'm certainly glad that they are being compensated for the grave injustice that was done to them, but it will never be okay. And this can never happen again. Now, the plan was to discuss this with an OG whistleblower, Richard Grove, who sometimes this happens on live TV. A big emergency came up, and he is very apologizing Oh, he's apologizing profusely, but again, this is live TV, so fun things happen. Scott, my good friend from Rebunked News, has decided to hop on with us in his stead. He's producing for Richard Grove. So, Scott, thanks for hopping in with me to chitty chat. Appreciate it. Oh, I think you have to
funny.
unmute.
I'm on.
Oh no, I can hear you now.
I have
Sorry.
to unmute.
Go ahead.
Let me see. Can
No,
you hear me
I
now?
can hear you.
Kristi, thank you. Okay, thank you so much for having me. I've been trying to produce off, while driving off the air, and we're on a road trip, my buddy and I, to Missouri, to the Great Bertaria National Festival. We'll be hanging out with Owen Benjamin and everybody this weekend. And as Richard couldn't make it, but this is a good example for your audience. We call it triggering one's complexity. Triggering your complexity when things don't go the way you expect. But anyway, so there you go.
Yeah, and for those that might recognize Scott, he has filled in on this show for me before and other shows that I've done. Always great. Scott, I was just talking about the FBI whistleblowers being reinstated. Did you have any thoughts about that? I don't know how much you followed that story about Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend and those that were, they did what they were supposed to. They went about it the right way, being a whistleblower, and their lives were upended. And it took until now for them to be reinstated. What do you think about that development?
Well, I think that's fantastic. If we're going to have an FBI at all, at least we're having people with integrity, those who have stood on their truth and stood on their principles and have been willing to truly make sacrifice. Those are patriots right there. Those are the patriots that we should have in an agency like that, if we're going to have an agency like that for them. And it is funny. It is a bummer because I can speak as a half just a little bit knowing his story. That's really what him up. Right? And I'm sure you guys will be able to get into it, but he naively thought that as a whistleblower, the government with their whistleblower protections would be there to protect him. It was the opposite, where he turned the government was. And then coming after him is when he started looking into topics related to government corruption. And fast forward 25 years later, and here we are with our show Grand Theft World, where we expose government corruption every week. So there you go.
Yes, Grand Theft World, exposing government corruption every week. There's never a shortage, and I've been saying, even though many appreciate that President Trump is now in office, that doesn't mean that we don't have to have discernment and keep him in check and make sure that we know who's around him. And there's just never a shortage of government corruption to expose. So I'm thankful that you're working on Grand Theft World. They've done great work. I used to contribute quite a bit to the cause there as well. But we're really looking forward to Richard Grove. Disappointed he can't make it today, but we will bring him back another time. Scott, I want to keep you safe. You're on the road. and it's cutting out a little bit here and there, but thanks for weighing in. Thanks for hopping on. And I'm sure we'll have you back again real soon as well. All right. We're going to let Scott get on his way. It reminds me of myself. He's doing all of the things, juggling all of the things all of the time. But yes, again, happy that those guys are seeing some vindication, some restoration. I love that each of those guys, they were posting Bible verses of God's promises that, if they were to be patient, that they would see this through, they would be able to see this day. And so that's really exciting to see. But yes, we must never forget what happened to these guys. It was awful. On that note, as long as we're celebrating things that are good that are happening, because there's always so much negative news to cover. But as long as we're celebrating those good things, I think it's time to cover some Wednesday weekly wins. All right, I've compiled, there's so much actually. I sort through all of the good things that are happening. Sometimes we miss that there's a lot of good things happening, right? Because we get sucked into the algorithms that make us mad and angry and bait us into more engagement, right? But if you take a step back, like we're trying to do each week and be like, okay, what are the wins that happen this week? what was good and exciting and something that we can celebrate, there's actually a lot of things every week, to the point that, like I said, I have to look through and be like, okay, I got to whittle this down. So I whittled it down to a top 5. How's that? I'll give you 5 things. And many of those things happened actually really recently within the week. On August 25th, President Trump fired Fed Governor Lisa Cook over alleged deceitful mortgage claims, potentially giving him a Fed majority and shaking up the economy in America's favor. You know, a lot of the economists were saying, oh, this is going to make the markets tank. And even that, it really didn't have too much of an effect on the market. Things were still in the green. And she is fighting back, but it appears that if they can just prove and show cause, he has every right to fire her for cause. So it's just going to be that extra step to be like, yeah, you claimed a couple primary residences. You can't do that. You can't swindle your way into getting the lowest interest rates that there are just because of your position as a Fed governor. So it looks like they're just going to have to make sure that they bring the evidence that backs up that for cause. And this should be a done deal. And we should be able to get a majority on a much needed Fed board position so that Trump can continue to work on this economy, get those interest rates cuts, and provide some relief for us in the long haul. We need some relief. On that same day, August 25th, he signed an executive order to end cashless bail nationwide, cracking down on crime and protecting communities. I mean, just think of how ridiculous cashless bail sounds. Like, what is the point in even having a bail if it's at zero, if it's cashless, and you're just gonna arrest somebody only to immediately let them out? Quite ridiculous. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Watch this.
If you have cashless bail, there's no incentive to come back. Your family's not leaning on you to come back. The people you borrowed the money from are not leaning from you to come back. And it doesn't work. People do walk away and they never show up. It's sort of like the immigration notice to appears that don't get served and don't get followed through. So I think President Trump has hit, again, one of these 80-20 issues. Democrats are wedded to the 20% on.
Democrats, another thing that they're wedded to: cashless bail, lawlessness, violence. It's never ending. But yeah, it makes no sense. As he said there, it's just as bad as when you have these supposed rules to for asylum seekers to show back up at court, but then they just don't. Like, what's the incentive to, right? But another thing that we can celebrate as a Wednesday weekly win is violent crime in DC, dipping 17% in just 1 week under Trump's police takeover. And the spike here is in immigration arrests. But I love how you see there CNN is covering this. It says Trump's DC takeover produces moderate. Anything that they can do to try and stifle or sabotage something good that has happened under the Trump administration. They're like, oh, we'll just see. It's just a little bit. It's just a moderate. I mean, moderate compared to what? Right? But yes, crime is gone way down. We also saw that there was a stretch of, up to 12 days, 0 homicides in DC, which is unheard of. So he is cracking down on crime, and it gives him the fuel to take this to other blue cities that are struggling with crime. He successfully was able to do that in Los Angeles. And so the places under the radar right now are Chicago. We've been seeing a lot of Trump saying he may want to try and clean things up in Chicago. Baltimore has been under fire. That's my husband's hometown, Baltimore. And now the latest is, I'm sure more might want to be talking about Minneapolis, because yes, we are all grieving that mass shooting that happened this morning, but it's part of a systemic run of violence in Minneapolis. There's been murder after murder after murder happening, all in a short period of time. And then this mass shooting is just topping it all up. So maybe Minneapolis should be added to the list. I mean, it's under Governor Tim Walz. You think he's going to do anything to stifle the violence that's happening there? I don't think so. We were talking about continued efforts to drain the swamp earlier, or at least in this case, keep the swampies out before they can ever get in. So this is another huge win you see there for President Trump. He's tapping his longtime loyalist Dan Scavino to head up the presidential personnel office, ensuring the White House gets staffed with top-notch America First patriots who are all about loyalty and getting things done efficiently. Scavino, a trusted deputy chief of staff and one of Trump's oldest advisors, is stepping in after Sergio Gore heads off as ambassador to India. And Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says he's going to keep the team focused on qualified, dedicated folks. So this is a smart move, shaking off past criticisms and locking in a stronger, more unified administration. I mean, that's what Trump needs. His downfall has always been being surrounded by the wrong people. And so Dan Scavino has been a tried and true friend. He's kind of given us hints along the way as to what the priorities are of Trump and a Trump administration. So this will be a unique new position for Dan Scavino, and we are here for it. And finally, the administration has push led to Cracker Barrel reversing its logo change after backlash, credited to Trump's influence on keeping America traditional. And so if you don't recall the story, I don't know how you couldn't have seen it, but basically this was the ugly old Cracker Barrel logo that you see there. For a momentary time until there was a backlash. Now, CNN, look at that headline. It says Cracker Barrel will return to its old logo after days of intense right-wing backlash. And I read the article, and they point out like a couple key figures in the right that you could call right-wing that were saying how horrible of the logo change it was. But look at this. The Democrats said, we think the Cracker Barrel rebrand sucks too. So how they just generally, how CNN can just generally say it was the right wing complaining, and so they had to change their logo is absurd. No one was happy about this. The Democrats said, hey, we're not on board with this boring logo change either. Like, what's wrong with the uncle by the barrel there, and having the things that we love about that homey feel in Cracker Barrel. So as of today, it seems that the CEO is still in that position, shockingly, but we're going to keep an eye on this because, I mean, think of all of the money, so much money lost to make this unnecessary change, right? With getting the logo made. I don't know how. I feel like my teen could make that logo, but getting the logo made, marketing the logo, doing total revamps of the in-stores, painting the walls white and boring and hospital-like. All the money it took to do that, I mean, it's all such a waste. Such a waste. Their stock, speaking of barrel, their stock barreled down, with this change. So what a waste. But I haven't seen any news yet of the CEO stepping down or getting the boot. So we will have to keep an eye on that for you. Be interesting to see. All right. So the next thing we're going to be diving into is this. We've talked about other executive orders. We're going to dive into that next. But first, we're going to take a quick break, hear from those that made this show possible. But you know what really makes this show possible is MyPillow. You just doing some shopping on mypillow.com, and you help support the show. I mean, just think about everything that our leader has been through, getting pushed out of Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart, all those big box stores. Such a tenacious leader and so successful. And then just because of his political beliefs, they tried to ruin him. They tried to destroy his business. They tried to destroy his business with a lawsuit recently, but were unsuccessful. But I think the biggest reason that they haven't been able to succeed is because of the army of prayer warriors that we have that continue to support Mike Lindell, continue to support these shows. And when you can, continue to support this company. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code KL, and you're going to get the biggest discounts that help support these shows. And there is so much to choose from, whether it be dog beds or mattress toppers, or biggest discounts that to choose from, bed topper. New today. Go ahead and hop on mypillow.com, do some shopping and see what there's new. There's so much new. I'm already seeing outlet sale. What? I'm going to have to check that out. But yeah, try something new that you haven't. I just got my son this My Cross necklace. I'm thankful that my 14-year-old wants to wear a cross necklace to school. And I was like, you know what? I will get you. He asked specifically for cross necklace. I said, I know which one to get you, actually. And so I hopped on mypillow.com and I ordered with my own promo code KL this necklace so that he could wear that with pride at school. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. All right. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with some news on this flag burning executive order, because people have been really mixed on that. Even on the right, not sure how they feel about that executive order. So we're going to dig into that after this.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Airwater Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com.
Welcome back to DC Dispatch. Let's take a break to celebrate our markets. Wall Street, we are back in the green. Looks like NVIDIA's Q2 earnings are helping with this. Like I said before, Trump had said he was going to fire the Fed governor, but it didn't really affect the market too much. We're still in the green. So nothing to worry about that there. So all good. Dow 193.27, S&P 500 18.60, NASDAQ 43.222, all in the green is the summary there. But if you don't like the ebbs and flows of Wall Street, the market, you can always make sure that some of your funds are in things that are outside of the market or that are going to react opposite from the market. And so we have a way for you to get some precious metals. You can go to MikeLindellGold.com, and get yourself some free gifts there if you qualify. Again, this is a way to have true diversification. You can't just get a bunch of different stocks in an account and say, I'm diversified. Because no, if they're all in the stock market, then if the whole stock market tanks, then everything's going to tank. So this is a way to get something in a tangible asset, gold, and have some true diversification. If you're like, you know what, I don't have money laying around to do that. Well, you might have some money that you could set aside in your IRA or your 401k. And in some cases, you can do a partial rollover. But that's something that you can talk to with your advisor about, or talk to the folks over there at Fisher Liberty Gold. Just go to MikeLindellGold.com. You can also consider an investment in energy. We know that this administration is loving energy, wants to unleash energy. So if you want to get in on the action, this would be a great thing to consider. You can find out more at KristiOilBoom.com. That's KristiOilBoom.com. But this is a ultimate passive income play. And again, another way to truly diversify your portfolio. All right, so let's move on to this executive order. We're going to cover the good and the bad. And for some, this executive order that Trump just signed on flag burning, people are saying, no, that's a bad thing. That infringes upon my free speech, and we don't want to go there. And in fact, some took it to a whole nother degree. There was an unhinged liberal Karen that right after that this was signed, if we have that video, possibly we can show, this Karen was arrested for burning an American flag outside the White House. It's just hours after President Trump signed this executive order. Let's watch.
To burn the American flag. Art Jesus in that house right there signed an executive order today saying that it was illegal to burn the American flag. No president can make a law, period. No Congress will make a law infringing on First Amendment rights. I'm burning this flag as a protest to that illegal fascist president that sits in that house.
So he tried to make his point there, burning the flag, but apparently he was arrested. But here's the thing. He was arrested for violating a law which prohibits unauthorized fires on federal property, not because it was a U.S. flag. So he probably should have done a little bit more homework there, see if he could have been arrested for another reason, because that's what happened. And he also probably should have done a little bit more reading. Kara and I were talking about this the other day. We weren't sure how we felt about this executive order. But if you actually do read it, there are some stipulations, like this is directed at foreign nationals, for example. The executive, like I said, the executive order, directed at penalties for burning the flag. It's getting mixed support, but again, people really need to read it before they come to a judgment on it. But that being said, even Supreme Court Justice Scalia had said that burning the flag is a matter of free speech. Watch this.
Why you believe that people who burn the flag in America should be allowed to do so, and yet you personally, if you had the chance, would sling them all in jail?
Yeah, if I were king, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag. However, we have a First Amendment which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged, and it is addressed in particular to speech critical of the government. I mean, that was the main kind of speech that tyrants would seek to suppress. Burning the flag is a form of expression. Speech doesn't just mean written words or oral words. It could be semaphore. Burning a flag is a symbol that expresses an idea. I hate the government is unjust, whatever.
And here's J.D. Vance really responding specifically to those comments that many were referring to. And here's what he had to say. A few things. Antonin Scalia was a great Supreme Court justice and a genuinely kind and decent person. The president's executive order is consistent with Texas versus Johnson. Texas versus Johnson was wrong and William Rehnquist was right. So this bears a little bit more digging into. Read it. But yeah, at first get, I'm like, I don't like this. I'm a free speech absolutist. Free speech protects even things that we think are despicable or that we hate. So we'll see. I guess jury's still out a little bit on that. Now, because the current administration is against flag burning, though, the leftists are now losing their mind because remember, it's the opposite game. They have to be opposite, fiercely opposite of whatever our president is doing, right? Perhaps they forgot that Hillary Clinton had this to say about burning the flag. Watch.
So I hope, Mr. President, that we can pass a law that criminalizes flag burning and desecration. I agree that this burning, this desecration that can happen to our flag is something that people have a right to ask this body to try to prohibit and prevent.
So, interesting. It's kind of like when President Biden was talking about how bad crime was in DC, but now we're going to act like, oh, it's gotten so much better. So it just goes to show that they will go wherever the wind takes them. But yeah, we're worth reminding people that that's what she had to say about it when they're losing their minds over Trump with his executive order. All right, but here's something else that's interesting about it. But Christopher F. Rufo posted this on X. He said, I'm sorry, but as long as this is the status quo, I'm not going to work myself into a state of hysteria about Trump's executive order on burning the American flag. And there's two articles, pictures of articles posted here. BBC, 15 years in Iowa jail for burning the pride flag, not even the American flag, but the pride flag. What? And the Daily Mail, 3 Washington teens are facing 10 years in jail after making skid marks on the LGBT Rainbow Road mural while riding e-scooters. So have those two articles at the ready. If people are like, your president is a dictator and authoritative, now he doesn't even want us to have our free speech rights with the American flag, and can't burn the American flag anymore. Well, oh, really? Because your crew was putting people in jail or threatening to put people in jail for 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years over pride flag displays. So spare me. Okay. All right. Well, quick note before I go. I just want to remind you folks again, please be praying for Mike. And if you're able, make a donation to his defense. It wasn't that long ago that he was in court. We were covering him in court against one of those crooked voting machine companies. And he really came out victorious. Just a $2 million and some odd dollars judgment against him. And it was against him, not what they wanted to do, which was tens of millions of dollars against him, his company, MyPillow, all of that. It was just against him. But yeah, that's still nothing to cough at, right? Who has $2 million? So he needs to be ready for that, but also to fight it. So if you can, please make a donation to his defense. You can do that, like I said, at givesendgo.com/Lindell, givesendgo.com/Lindell. There it is. Whew. Or you can go to mypillowtrial.com. Mypillowtrial.com. There's a message there for you and other ways to stay in the know about what he's working on and how you can help him. So please do that. All right. Well, keep it right here for LindellTV White House coverage. We have so much in store. Spin Room is next. That's all the time I have. But again, stay here. I'm Kristi Leigh, and that's your DC Dispatch.